Alright, this video is going to be over solving linear equations with distributive property. So I've written all the steps out on the right hand side for each one that you can follow. Because again, you work these equations the exact same way. And equations, really any equation you're given, you're going to work it this way, depending on how small, how short it is or how long it is. So let's look at this. The first thing we're going to start with is distributive property. So to distribute, it has to be the one touching your parentheses. If there's not a number, if you have something like this, there's not a number actually here touching your parentheses, so there's nothing to distribute here. So really this is the same thing as this. Okay, now if we had this, then what's touching your parentheses is this -1. Okay, so that's what you would be distributing. So it has to be directly touching that parenthesis for what you're going to distribute. All right, again, if you struggle with distributive property, one thing that helps, I think, is writing it above everything inside that parentheses. So remember, when we say distribute, that means to multiply. Okay, to everything on the inside of those parentheses. So what we have here is we have 6 times x, which is 6x, and then positive and a positive, so I'll get positive. 6 times 10 is 60. And then we bring down our 102. Okay, that's distributive property. So we've taken care of that. The next thing we're going to do is move terms, which is the same as inverse operation. So I do like to draw a line to keep everything balanced, but I don't like to draw it right underneath the equal sign. Okay, even though that's our balance, I just don't like lines drawn through the equal sign. So what we have to understand is we want all of our terms that have variables on one side. So I call this side variable. Okay, I just label it. And then I name this side constants, which constants is a term without a variable. And then I go through each term and I rearrange accordingly. So let's look at the 6x. And does 6x have a variable? Yes. So it's going to stay on this side. Okay, and here's my equals. Positive 60, does it have a variable? No. So that means it has to move, but to move, it has to do the inverse operation. So I have -60, okay, which means I put a -60 over here. Okay, which means it's no longer on this side. And then 102, now I'm on the constant side, so I'd make sure I go to whichever side I'm on. 102, is that a constant? Yes, meaning it does not have a variable, so it's on the correct side. Okay, so that's how we move terms around. Now we want to combine like terms. Well, on my 6x side, that's all I have, so I leave it as 6x equals, and then I would do combine like terms. 102 minus 60 is going to give me 42. Okay, so now what I have is 6x equals 42. So I've combined my like terms. Now I have a one-step equation, 6x equals 42. Remember, when things are side by side like this one, that means multiply. So the opposite of multiplying, let's get my last step. The opposite of multiplying is to divide. So I divide everything, and you always divide by your coefficient. Remember, coefficient is a number, the number in front of the variable. So 6 divided by 6 is 1, but we don't rewrite 1 as a coefficient, equals 42 divided by 6 is 7. And again, this is a really easy check, so off to the side, I'm going to rewrite my equation. But now inside, I know what my x value is. I know my x value is 7. Okay, so let's combine our terms inside our parentheses. So 7 plus 10 is 17. 6 times 17 is 102. And 102 equals 102. So we're good. So again, just a really simple check to make sure you have, there's never a reason to miss an equation because it is a really simple check. All right, let's look at the next one. Again, I just go through the exact same steps every single time. I'm going to do everything in the same colors so you can see the same steps in each one. So for this first one, I'm going to distribute. So remember, that means multiply. So I'm going to take this -3 and I'm going to write it above each term here. Now what I also like to do is I like to take care of my signs ahead of time. So like this first one, a -3 times a positive, I know I'm going to get a negative. So I get those out of the way because a lot of our mistakes are just this simple as the signs. Okay, and then 3 times 9 is 27. Now on to the next one, again, a negative and a negative, it's going to give me a positive. So I've already taken care of that sign. I don't have an issue with it now. And then 3 times 2b is 6b. Don't leave your variables off again. Very common mistake. Okay, so here's my division points where I want my variables on this side. I want my constants on this side. Again, you can just do a V and a C if you understand what that means. I'm going to write it out just for the video's sake. All right, so again, go through your left-hand side, which is you want just variables. So, -27 does not have a variable, so I need to move it to the other side. Well, to move it to the other side, okay, we have to inverse operations, so opposite. Okay, if it starts out as a -27, when it moves, it now becomes a +27. So it's no longer over here. 6b does have a variable, so it's going to stay on this side. And then now we're on the constant side. 3 is a constant, and since it's the only term over there, like on the 102 up here, that's the only reason I didn't rewrite it, because it's the only thing over here. So now we're able to combine like terms. Okay, so to combine like terms, I don't have another variable term, so I just bring my 6b down. I combine my constants. 3 plus 27 is 30. So now, one-step equation. Again, we're showing multiplying again, 6 times b. So now we're going to divide by that coefficient. So divide both sides by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. So we're just left with b. Remember, we don't write 1 as a coefficient. 30 divided by 6 is 5. Again, do a quick check. I've got -3, 9 minus 2, but my b now is 5. I know that one. Equals 3. Well, 2 times 5 is 10. So now I have -3, 9 minus 10, give me -1. Negative and a negative gives me a positive. 3 times 1 is 3. So it checks out, we're good. Alright, again, a good thing to do is pause the video, work these last two on your own, and see if you're getting them correct. If you're not, come back and just see where you're making your mistakes at. Okay. So, what am I distributing? I'm distributing this 2, so I'm going to write it here and here. Okay, positive and a negative. So I'm going to give me a negative. 2 times x is 2x. Positive and a positive. Be a positive. 2 times 12 is 24. And just bring everything else down. Okay, here's my line of where I'm going to split my variables with my constants. Okay, go through each term. Okay, remember, if I have to move it, it has to do inverse operation, which is opposite. So -2x is a variable, so it's going to stay put. It's no longer here. Positive 24 does not have a variable, so it's going to have to move to the constant side. To move to the constant side, instead of a positive, it's now a negative. So it's no longer over here. All right, 14. 14 is a constant, so it's not having to move. So we've got everything on the correct side. All right, now since negative 2x, is the only term, I just bring it down. I'm going to combine my like terms here. 14 minus 24 is negative 10. So now I've combined my like terms. Now I need to, so again, everything has been the same. We are multiplying, we're multiplying negative 2 times x. So the opposite is to divide, and we're going to divide by that coefficient. My coefficient is negative 2. Remember, don't change anything about a coefficient. So negative 2 becomes negative 2 divided by 2. Negative 2 is 1. So I'm left with my x term equals negative, and a negative is a positive. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. All right, again, when you go to check this one, I know people get confused because I have this negative sign out in front of my x. Leave it, okay? Leave that there, then just plug in your x value. Since this one's positive, it's not as bad. But usually if you get a negative here, people get confused. But you could think of this as saying opposite of x. Well, my x is positive 5, so it's a negative 5. Okay, and then do your check. But don't leave anything out of the original equation. So negative 5 plus 12 is 7. So I have 2 times 7. And 2 times 7 is 14. So it checks out. Again, no reason to miss these. Simple, simple, easy checks. All right. Last one. All right, I have 5 times the sum of 4y and 8 equals 80. So first thing is distribute. I'm going to take my 5 because it's touching the parentheses and distribute. And what's nice here is everything's positive, so everything's going to stay positive. So 5 times 4 is 20, y, plus 5 times 8 is 40, equals 80. So there's our distributive. Now we're going to move terms, or inverse operations, opposites. So here's my balancing. This is my variable side. This is my constant side. Okay, so go through each term. 20y, it has the variable, so it's going to stay put. So no longer, we've moved it down. Okay, positive 40 does not have a variable, so we're going to move it to the other side. So when we move, instead of a positive 40, it's now a negative 40. So it's not here anymore. Okay, and then we're going to go to the constant side. 80 is a constant, so it's going to stay put. Okay, now let's look at combining our like terms. Again, we only have 20y, so we're going to keep 20y here. Combine our terms here. 80 minus 40 is 40. Okay, so we've combined our like terms. One-step equation. Again, just like all the others, we're showing multiplying. So opposite of multiplying is to divide. So 20 divided by 20 is 1. But again, we don't write 1 as our coefficient. So y equals 40 divided by 20 is 2. Again, super quick check for plug in our variable. Equals 80. Okay, 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 8, 16. 5 times 16 is 80. So again, checks out. All right, I hope that helps you all. Again, if you have any questions, please email me. And good luck with your assignment.